faster. And the way we get there faster is we move from one to two, from employee to the self-employed quadrant. And the right out of the gate, the advantage of self-employed is, you can do what you can work as hard as you want to work and make as much as you want to make. Whereas an employee, I was on salary. It didn't matter how many extra hours I put in, I wasn't getting paid anymore. As a self-employed person, you can bust it more. You can work 100 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week and maybe double or triple your income potential just through harder work, let alone getting better at what you do. So self-employment has leverage to it, but most of us don't know how to be self-employed. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a business with other people, and we haven't really learned how to be self-employed effectively ourselves. So what are we teaching our teammates? So everybody in Primerica, we're trying to, not everybody, but the smart people in Primerica are trying to recruit lots of folks. But a lot of the breakdown is we don't really know what to tell them. We don't really know what to show them because we're not really on a path to learn it ourselves. So what I'm encouraging you all to do today is get on that path of becoming great at being self-employed. I'm still self-employed. I'm a business owner and I'm an investor. I make more income monthly on my investments than I do my Primerica income, but I am still self-employed. Now, I'm not an employee anymore. I've been an employee since 1992. Okay. So I would be a horrible employee probably at this point. But I'm very self-motivated. I don't need a boss, so it's fine. But look, if you think about it, this guy here, this billionaire guy on Shark Tank, Robert, he has this quote: most billionaires would do poorly on Jeopardy. I love that. The world doesn't reward general knowledge. And here's his quote: all successful entrepreneurs, all have obtained and mastered specific knowledge and skills. So within Primerica, there are very specific knowledge and skills that you must master, not just be familiar with, not just be like, oh, yeah, I heard that before. Oh, yeah, I should probably get some refer. Master these fundamental skills. And so as we look, some of the things I learned about being self-employed that most people don't seem to have a real heart for is mind your schedule. When you're self-employed, you don't have someone else forcing you into a schedule anymore. Your coach here will suggest a schedule to you, but they're not really forcing it on you. You've got to force it on you. It's got to be like a religion, your schedule. It's non-negotiable. And it's got to be a schedule that's approved by somebody that is where you want to be. So if you want to make the millions that Shaq made, if you want to have the lifestyle, that him and his family enjoy, if you want to have the impact on others that he has, then you've got to model that. You've got to make sure he approves your schedule, and then you work it and stick to it. That schedule probably should be mostly prospecting at this point in your career. You've got to be reliable. You've got to be the person that your word means something. It means everything. Like people can count on your word when you give it. And one thing I learned is to not try to be a people pleaser so much. That was kind of my first instinct. Be a people pleaser. But I learned, you can't please anyone no matter what you do anyway. So trying to please everybody is a fool's errand. But I also learned to under promise so that I could more easily over deliver. People will reward you more by a perception that you did more than you promised, but they really notice when you do less than what you promised. So be careful about over promising and be vigilant about delivering on those promises. Be reliable. If the meeting starts at a certain time, you're there early, reliably. Like everyone around knows, oh, Shaq's the early guy. He's first to the office. He's making sure that the shares are straight. He's making sure he's always that guy. See, you want to be noticed that way in everything that you do. I'm telling you, the fruit that will yield you, the way you'll view yourself is huge. And then you need to master the fundamentals. And we're going to go over what those fundamentals are quickly. And you need to succeed. You need to make and save money. Make money, you're not succeeding. Making money is the ultimate scoreboard in business. Only in Primerica, do we give plaques to people that never made any money, that did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but didn't really make money. And we do that on purpose to encourage young people in our business before they start making money, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time. You got to get licensed, you got to get some training, you got to get, okay, that's all true. So we give you that, but don't let those accolades go to your head. Making money is the ultimate scoreboard. Okay. Now you can defer that a little bit, but at some point you got to make a decision like Bao did, like Pham did, like Shaq did. I'm here to make money. And then when you make money, you must save it. You must save it because you can't go seek people about handling their money correctly when you're not handling your money correctly. You can't, your integrity will not be intact. People can smell a phony a mile away, and you're no different. So you must make money and save money. And then the fundamentals, we've got eight of them, different people have different, but they're all basically the same. Hector Lamarck, is famous for this stuff, and, we believe in these fundamentals. Number one is prospecting. You've got to find somebody to talk to. You've got to meet somebody. And there's 100 ways to do it. I'm not going to get into those today because we're going to talk about referrals as a way for prospecting, but there's many other things. Referrals will not be the only way that you get clients, even if you master referrals. You master all the ways of prospecting that you think are worthy. Two, you got to be great at appointment setting. You got to be great on the phone. You got to know I can't set appointments with a text message. I can't set appointments with a carrier pigeon. I can't set appointments with my downline who's 2 weeks in the business, scared to death, and I'm going to make sure that person gets appointments for me so I don't have to get on the phone. That's crazy. I never let my young people make calls by themselves. I never met my new people make calls by themselves. I always did it together. Well, I did a couple of times and saw what the folly in that was and swore I would never do that again. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be there with them making the calls. And if they can't, hand me the phone as quick as you can. You just get it started, check, and then hand me the phone. Let me take it from there. And then I applaud him for the great job he did, just getting to, even though he only said a few things, but he said enough that he was able to then get me on the phone and I could do the rest. And then he can watch me do the rest. And he can watch me do what's on the phone tracks that I'm training him on how to do. So he sees I'm doing the exact same thing I'm teaching him how to do. As a matter of fact, when I would make calls with Shaq or anyone, Nicole, anyone that I'm working with, I would make the calls with them and I didn't need the phone track. Heck, I wrote the phone track, but I would have that phone track in front of me. One, it keeps me from going off the reservation, which I can do. But two, it lets them see loud and clear that I'm not just saying, here, do this, but I do that. And because, common objections to phone tracks are, well, it just doesn't sound like me. It just doesn't seem natural. That's just not the way I talk. And the answer must be yes, but you need to be talking this way. This is the way you need to sound. The way, no offense, Johnny, but the way you sound and the way you talk now, you do not sound like someone on their way to making $1 million. Now, do you want to make $1 million or do you want to sound like someone that doesn't? What is it that you want? And so you overcome objections, but you've got to have strength behind it where it's like, because people can smell a phony a mile away. I can't tell them to use a script that I don't use myself. So appointment setting is huge. Interviews, learning how to interview and do the recruiting presentation. That's huge, obviously. KTA opens, how to get commitments. I mean, that was something we train on over and over. And I know you guys do within this base shop as well. Getting commitments, making sure, because, look, why go back on a second appointment? Why go back on a carryback? I know we do a lot of Zoom meetings, but even that's a waste of time. But try driving across town in traffic to go to a meeting that you're not even sure they're going to be doing business with you on. I mean, I just got to a point, I don't want to do that anymore. If I'm going to go back, I need to feel like I'm sure. I want to feel, how many times I ask you this, Shaq, when I ask you about commitments that you got, you tell me about how your first meeting went, because I inspect what I expect. So after he'd do a solo meeting young in his career, we would talk that evening. I'd say, so tell me how it went. And he'd tell me how it went. And I'd ask him, great, did you get commitments? And he knew what those were and he knew what was coming. And he'd tell me, and I'd say, great, great, great. Would you bet me $100 that they're going to follow through on their commitment to do business. I mean, like, meaning if you don't get the sale, you give me $100. Are you willing to bet that? See, if he's not willing to do that, if he starts stuttering on that, if he's like, I don't know, I don't know. And I didn't ask him to bet 10,000. He didn't have 10,000. I knew he could get his hand on 100, and 100 was meaningful. Now, I never collected $100 from anybody, by the way, that didn't make a sale, okay? But the conversation was, if you don't believe, if you're not, no, I bet 100 for sure. I feel like I'm 90% confident. You can never be 100% sure. People can fake you out, but you start to smell a phony as well. And so I got very good at getting commitments. I got very good at being able to tell when people were giving me half-hearted commitment, wasn't a real commitment, and I'd call them on it. Listen, I hear what you said, John, but just the way you said it, maybe I'm misreading you. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like you're not really kind of sold on that. Is there something holding you up on this? Is there anything that's leaving you with even a little bit of concern? See, I want to address that in the first meeting, not let it carry over into the second meeting, because in the time that it takes to carry over to the second meeting, they've hardened their decision of not proceeding. And that can come in the form of a reschedule, a cancellation, or just wasting your time in the second meeting. So if it's living in them now, doubt, reluctance, hesitancy, I cannot bullshit myself. I have to know what I see, I have to acknowledge it, and I have to address it, and I cannot be afraid to do it because I'm way more afraid of wasting everybody's time by ignoring it. Anyone ever do that? I know you have. Don't raise your hand on that. So those are huge. And then you've got to be good at closing. Even with commitments, you still have to close, but closing gets a lot easier. There's fewer objections to overcome when you've gotten good commitments. You've evaporated the objections before they even really showed up. That's the reason we get the commitments. But sometimes you still have to overcome objections. So you've got to get good at that. You've got to know what they are. You've got to be like armor, where you should be practicing with each other in the office, of what the common objections are. Objections to doing business, objections to giving a money commitment, objections to giving referrals, objections to considering the business opportunity, objections to mutual funds, objections to term life insurance, objections. You've got to know there's probably 12 or 15 objections that are out there that if you ran 20 appointments, you'd hear all of them probably a couple of times. Some of them, top 4 or 5, you hear more frequently. So you've got to be well versed in those dozen or so objections that you might get and make sure that your people are as well. I don't ever hear an objection I've never heard anymore. And how quickly can you get to that point where you not only there's no new objections, but you know how to deal with and handle all of them with confidence and grace. You need to be there. Product knowledge. You've got to be an expert with term life insurance, which means you also be an expert with cash value policies. Even though we don't sell them, we unsell them. So you have to become as expert as you can with those as well. You've got to be an expert with investments. The sexiest part of the product side of this business is helping people grow wealth. We're in the wealth accumulation business. That's the business you're in. We make millionaires. You got to get on board with that and believe that and understand that. And that's why you've got to make money and save money. Jeff made me set up a $50 pack in a mutual fund when I was broke, just went full time, had no job. I went full time after I made $6,000 in 10 months part time. $6,000 in 10 months part time, went to a year-end event, got a trophy for a bunch of Primerica life business that most of it charged back over the next 2 months that I went full time. But I got a trophy for having a big November Remember contest, went right to my head. Thank God. I was so excited, quit my job and then struggled and then struggled. But I was there every day working to get better. And I had to become a pro at this. And Jeff made me set up a $50 mutual fund because he said, man, you have to know this stuff and you're not going to know it if you're not a client of it. And I wound up getting my investment license later that first year. And then referrals, we're going to talk about a new rep fast start, getting them off to a fast start. And it's funny, we get a new rep off to a fast start, and what do we do with them? See, anyone ever do an orientation? Raise your hand if you've done or given an orientation, okay? So I stopped calling them orientations years ago and internally start, because what I was finding is everyone's orientation looked like another op meeting. It looked like another training meeting. And I had to be like, boy, time out. How many calls did you make? Shaq made the perfect example. He said, he was just starting. He was in his first week or two. And on a Sunday night, Mark calls a meeting. We come out to the meeting. Well, it was a meeting that we'd been doing for, months and months and months and months, but it was the first one for Shaquille. And he comes out, and the meeting was a phoning blitz. And he didn't want to make calls. Nobody wants to make calls, but you got to get them over that. And so the only way to get over it is just to do it, hold their hand and do it with them. And we get a new rep in, and we want to get them making calls. We want to get them building a list. So I don't call it an orientation anymore. Internally, I call it first work session. It's your first work session. So, Zach, I need to get together with you for our first work session. And that work session, and who do I do that for? Not even for Shaquille. I may even tell him it's an orientation, okay? Because that's less fearful than work session. I tell myself it's a work session to remind me I'm here to work. And what is work in Primerica? Setting appointments and running appointments. Orientation could be all kinds of crap that you do. They got nothing to do with setting appointments. So we do that with a new rep. So when you start thinking about referrals, the only difference is we're getting our clients to do a top 20 list instead of a new rep. So when you think about referrals, just think, well, I'm asking a brand new rep to drop a top 20 list. Why can't I ask a brand new client to drop a top 20 list? Does that make some sense? Okay. Let's see here. And then here's the commitments. And I'm going to skip over those and get right into referrals here. So why do they matter? Look, your trainees need you to expand their market. Shaq said it perfectly. He still remembers this all these years later, that as good as the meeting went with his sister, he knew he didn't have an unlimited number of people in his warm market. So you've got to take that warm market and expand it for them. You've got to help them do that and show them how to do it. And then your best recruits aren't always your best clients. Sometimes, Shaq was not a good client. Okay. I mean, he was a no pointer. I think he was employed. You had a job, so you were a one pointer maybe.
Yeah.
But that, it's and by the pointers, you know what I mean, right? Between the ages of 25 and 50, married, kids, homeowner, employed. Okay. Those are your 5 points. And those are great points for a life insurance candidate. Okay. But they don't necessarily make the best recruit all the time. So those aren't the things that are most important to me in a recruit candidate, but in a client candidate, yeah, I want 3, 4, 5 pointers. And Shaq wasn't that. So if I'm going to recruit young people like Shaq that don't bring revenue into my business right away, even for doing their own plan, then I better have a system where I'm also bringing in quality selling candidates, quality client candidates, while I'm also bringing, see, in the old days with Art Williams, they were kind of always one and the same. That was the play that he ran. That's what he founded this business on. And that worked for a long period of time. But it denied a youth movement that would have denied me well more than half of my hierarchy, 3/4 or more of my hierarchy, if we denied the youth movement in our business. But I couldn't afford to be in a youth movement of unqualified client candidates to recruit if I didn't also have a way to make money. Look, I went full time. I had a house, I had a mortgage, I had a wife, I had an expectation that I'm not going to be broke. I got bills to pay. I didn't come here to lose my ability to pay them. I came here to amplify my ability to pay them. So anything that didn't bring revenue in right away, I could do as a tomorrow show, but I had to also make sure I was doing things to bring revenue in right now. So KTAs acquired from referrals tend to easily create more of the same. It's almost like mining for gold. If from a geology standpoint, gold has deposits in the ground and it's like veins. There's not like a piece of gold here and then another piece of gold, a quarter mile away and another piece of gold 3 miles away. You can dig and dig and dig and not find any gold, but when you find some, usually it has friends. And usually when you start digging for it, sometimes pieces will get separated, of course, but what you're looking for is that vein where you find gold and you follow the vein of gold. And that's how referrals are. If I get a half a dozen or 10 referrals from a good client, those referral meetings, when I call them and book the appointment and get with them, asking them for referrals is even easier because they were referred and it worked out well for them. So for them, it's not a hard thing. It's you. So you get like a referral vein going. It just makes sense to everybody, I hope. Um, and here's my number one reason why referrals matter. I hate walking around Walmart looking for people to talk to. I don't even like to shop at Walmart for crying out loud, let alone prospect at Walmart. So sorry if you love Walmart. It's probably not as bad as I say, but good God, I know too many of our teammates walking around Walmart during prime time, Shaquille, 6 to 10 p.m. in the evening looking for people to talk to. To me, that is sad. It's just sad. And if that's you, you need to amplify the options you have for getting in front of people. I applaud that you're hungry and you want to get in front of people, but you got to find some better ways, in my view. So let's talk about the warm introduction. From a happy client, from a happy client, from an ecstatic client, from someone that just saw the best movie of their life, from someone just ate the best meal in years. That's how I want them feeling after they sat with me. Okay. And I'm talking to them about getting wealthy. I'm talking about getting debt free. I'm talking about changing their life. I don't make it too small. I make it too big to be true almost. And I back it up because we are in that business. You need to talk to Shaquille about how his investments have performed over the last 1, 3, and 5 years. He probably is very humble. He probably doesn't really want to share personal, but you need to ask him, what's it about? What's it look like when someone like you invests in Primerica assets? What kind of returns? How is your wealth accumulation doing? He doesn't have to show you his account stat, but I used to bring one with me. I used to bring one with me to show them this is where my money's at. This is what I'm putting it in. Here's a snapshot of my Primerica life policy. I'd never ask you to buy or get involved in something I'm not doing myself. And I am so excited to be doing this. And you may have more money than I do right now, but I am growing this thing rapid. I am putting everything I can into this. I believe into this, and you need to be doing this too. So I want a happy client. And I like making phone calls with them. I used to do letters back in the day, the Bob Safford system that I took a lot of this from. Um, he did letters, and the thing was always get the client to put a little PS on the bottom of the letter. Today, we do text messages, but you could still do letters. People getting a handwritten note from somebody else, a thank you card. If anyone in this room is sending thank you cards, handwritten notes, not just a thank you text, but a thank you card, I applaud you for that. That is the extra little bit. That's like the owner of the restaurant coming to your table and making sure everything was great. These little things you have no idea because you haven't gotten these thank you notes. I'm telling you, when people talk about Peyton Manning, one of the things they love about Peyton Manning the most, other players throughout the league, not just his teammates, other players, they talk about the notes from Peyton Manning. He's famous for writing handwritten notes, meaningful notes. And it takes time and it takes effort, and no one else does it. So you stand out. You want to stand out, don't you? You want to be special and unique, don't you? That's one way to do it. But we do text messages, and here's what my text message looks like. And I have it stored in my phone so I can text it to my client and they can copy it and then edit it and put it into their own text to send to their friends and family and coworkers. And all they have to do is edit my name out. My name stays in, I'm sorry. And but the first name, hi John, so they're going to do one to hi Jane, and they're going to do one to hi Timmy, and they're going to do one to hi Shaquille, and they're going to do one to everybody. But I give them that text and say, just leave it like that. Don't do anything more. I said, but let me ask you this. So recently I had the pleasure of being introduced to, so let's read it together. Like we're in training, like we're role playing, okay? So just read it with me. So, hi John. recently I had the pleasure. Now, if you're not reading out loud right now, okay, if someone's sitting next to you and they're not out loud reading, give them an elbow because I want 100% participation on this. You guys are winners, so everybody rock this thing. I want to turn the mute off, if you could for me on this. Who's running the Zoom in that room? I want to hear you guys reading with me. I want to make sure this time, make sure everyone's not sleeping. I really miss doing meetings in group with everybody, because I some of the funnest times were finding people sleeping in the room. We'd always have somebody, that just, I don't know, they just and I just love waking them up in front of everybody, and letting them tell me what I just talked about and said. And I mean, those are just the funnest times, and you just don't get that as much with Zoom. So anyway. Um, and I know that's nothing compared to some of the stuff Shaq's done. I've seen Shaq do some meetings that, man, I was just like, holy crap, that guy goes hard. But just some good times. But hey, let's go. Hey, John, recently
Yeah,
I
man.
had the pleasure of being introduced to someone that I think you should meet. Mark Blass really changed the way we look at our finances. As a result, we're much more optimistic about our future. As a favor to me, please take his call. From there, make up your own mind, of course. It's my sincere belief any time you spend with Mark will be time well spent. Okay. Give yourself a hand. Good job. Okay. So now that's the first time you've read that aloud. I need you to read it hundreds of times aloud, in the mirror, aloud. Just like with any phone track, any script you're learning, you want to go over and over and over and over again. Now, what I do is I ask my client, look, I know these were my words I'm putting on for you. Are you comfortable with these words? Is this fair and accurate? And before I say if you're comfortable, I don't even like that, okay? Because they could be uncomfortable and I don't even want them to answer that. So if I said that, I'd probably quickly fill that space before they had a chance to answer. Is there anything in here that isn't true for you? See, if I'm going to ask a closing question, I want to ask a closing question that's going to demand agreement. It's going to be very awkward for them to disagree with. Asking a question like, are you comfortable with that? Does not demand agreement. It's almost encouraging them to wimp out. So as I said it, I had to correct myself immediately, not leave them space to answer that poorly phrased closing question and come back with, is there anything in this that doesn't ring true for you, Shaquille? Was this your experience with me? Do you believe the time with me has been well spent? Okay. Now, this is someone that's already given me his money. He's already voted with his wallet. So I think it's going to be pretty easy to get agreement on that. It's short,
Mark, repeat the
quick. Yes.
question. I know you said it twice. I'm just going to type it in the chat.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Repeat the closing question. Right? Because I
Oh,
normally would say, are you
yeah, yeah,
comfortable
yeah.
with that?
Yeah. And there's a few ways you could say it, but you just want to have a closing question that demands their agreement. Okay. That's the key to any closing question. Okay. So, I'm putting them on the spot a little bit. So is there any part of this that doesn't ring true for you? For example, is it your sincere belief that your time with me was well spent, Shaquille?
Yes, it is.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Are you more optimistic about your future?
Yes.
Great. I mean, and so hopefully it also really changed in some way the way you're looking at your finances. And so I'm hoping that this would be honest for you. I would never want you to send something that wasn't honest for you. But I write it out so you don't have to sit and think about how to put your thoughts down in the right way. This works. This works very, very well. I've been doing this for years and years like this. This works. But if I didn't make this true for you, then I failed you in some way, and I want to fix that. That's probably more than you asked for, but that's how I feel about it. So I've always said about phone tracks and things like that, it matters more how you feel about it than even using the right words. But that's not an excuse to not use the words word for word when you're new, because you don't have that feeling built yet. So you have to learn it word for word. But ultimately, what matters more, even once you learn it word for word, what matters more is that you believe it word for word. That matters way more. Okay. Um, anyway, did that answer your question, Shaquille?
Yep. Perfect.
All right, so let's rock on to making the call. Now I'm going to move through this really, really fast, but I just, because you're going to have time to practice this. And Shaquille told me you will be practicing this. So get ready. And there's we would create blank spaces in this and do fill-ins. We would do stand up in front of the group and give it to the group without a script in front of you. Maybe if we were just starting out, we'd have you read the script in front of the group just so because it's nervous to get up in front of the group and talk. So we do all these things to bridge people at the different levels. Maybe the first one is just standing in front of the group and reading it. Then after a lot of PDR, we're going to say, okay, who's got it memorized? Who can come up in front of the room and do it word for word? And it would get to the point that if you were one word off, we'd call you on it. Now, you didn't do that the first time out. If you got there and only missed 5 or 10 words, we'd be like, wow, that was really good, really close. Here's what you missed. And then try to get everybody where they could do it word for word. So practice amongst yourselves too. Don't just wait for training. Brett used to talk about this a lot. Don't just wait for, he played basketball in college, all this stuff, he's just talking about, you don't just practice when it's time to practice, like when the coach calls practice. You go home and you practice more. You dribble the ball more, whatever your sport is, whatever you're doing. I played trumpet, in high school. You go home and practice the trumpet. You don't just practice when you have band class. You go home and you practice. You have homework, so you guys need to be doing this. So anyway, hi. Is this now? Future client is your prospect. So if Shaquille refers Samir to me, okay, I'm good. Future client is Samir. So I'm gonna be, hi, is this Samir? And he says, yes. I go, oh, hi, Samir. This is, and great leader, if you didn't know, that's you. So you put your name there. So great. Hey, this is Mark with Primerica. How are you doing? Why don't I just call Shaq and he'll role play with me. Okay. So he'll be future client. Hi, is this Shaquille?
Yep, this is Shaq.
Hey, Shaquille. This is Mark Blass with Primerica. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good, good, great. I was wondering if you received a note or a text from Samir. We'll make Samir the third party.
Yeah, he sent me some. Yeah, he said that you would be reaching.
Good, good, good. Yeah, he said he'd be sending that on. And so basically, I had done some financial work for them recently that made a huge impact on their lives, and they just wanted me to share it with you. And look, I'll give them a quick little space to say okay or whatever. Maybe I'll ask, is it a good time? But a lot of times I find if I ask if it's a good time, that's why I didn't put on the script. If I ask good time, they'll say no, it's not really a good time. You might just say instead of is it a good time, you might just say, great. Well, just real quickly, let me start by telling you that I represent Primerica, which is one of the largest diversified financial services companies in the country. Are you familiar with us?
I don't think so.
Okay. Now, if they say yes or no or anything else, like I don't think so, you proceed with the exact same thing. Whatever they say, you proceed with the exact same thing. Doesn't matter. Well, at Primerica, now if they said yes, you're familiar with us, I might ask them, what do you know about it? I might, okay, but I don't have to. I can just go right forward with this. If they say no, I'm not going to say, why don't you know anything about Primerica? I'm just going to say, well, at Primerica, we specialize in helping families. And I say this slowly. I want them to hear it. I need them to process what I'm about to tell them because a question is coming. And they can't answer the question accurately and honestly if I blew through the question too quick. That's why I wrote slowly in there. Okay. So we specialize in helping families increase retirement net worth, reduce taxes, and get totally debt free. Now, which of those three things would you say is most important to you, Shaquille?
Getting totally debt free.
Okay. And so watch what comes next. I'm not surprised. That seems to be important to a lot of clients I serve. Now, doesn't that sound accurate? I mean, do you think a lot of people are interested in getting debt free? Or either of the other that was an alternative of choice question, a triplicate of choice question. There's no wrong answer for that. Which of these three things is most important to you? Now, I've got an or on there. You could ask this one instead. Okay. Samir suggested you might be interested in getting life insurance. Now, why would I say that? because I talked to Samir when I made Samir my client, and I asked him for other people that he knew that could benefit from this. And he said, it's funny. My friend Shaquille and I were just talking the other day about life insurance because we found out we worked together and we found out our coverage through work sucks and we really needed to have something. And we just had that conversation. That's an instant where I'm going to write that down on my referral list and say, that's a hotspot button. Or we were just talking the other day about college education plans for our kids, and we really didn't know what to do. Or we were just talking the other day about technology investments and AI and how to build wealth and we were just talking about that. And so anything that you're creating in your meeting with your happy client, you're trying to solicit the people that they know that might also be happy about that. But I don't want just speculation that they might be interested. I want to know if you know, Samir, that Shaq has spoken those words. If not, I'm staying with the first triplicate of choice. But if I know that he knows they talked about it, then I can use, hey, Samir suggested you might be interested in blank. Is that true? And you're almost always going to get a yes, as a matter of fact, because it was. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I'm confident this is huge. You got to sound like you believe this, like you believe in your God. You got to sound like you believe this in the love for your family, like you do for the love for your family. You got to sound completely credible about this. I am confident, Shaquille, that I can help you accomplish that priority. His priority was getting debt free, as well as many other financial goals that you have. So how we start is we set up an initial visit. We'll likely do it via Zoom. That'll be somewhat exploratory for about 45 to 60 minutes. If you like what you see from that meeting and choose to go forward with me, I promise you that I'll work like crazy for you forever, but I'll never charge you a monetary fee. And you're going to have a little short pause there where in that space, he might have a little uncomfortable
How do
question.
you get paid? Right.
How are you getting paid? Exactly. And if he doesn't, I'm not going to pause forever. I'm not going to pause for 10 seconds. I'll pause for three. And if he doesn't fill that space with the question, then I'll ask the question he's already got on his mind. You're probably wondering how I get paid. And he'll chuckle and say, yeah. Well, my company pays me directly. Isn't that true? Has anyone ever gotten paid directly from a client, or does the money go through the company and then we get paid directly by the company? That's true and honest, right? So you don't have to. Doesn't mean he's not going to have fees and service charges with Ben Primerica, but we're not getting into that yet at this point. But you don't have to pay me directly. I'm compensated a little when I begin with a new client, and then much more later when our clients grow a large net worth through our guidance. Isn't that true? It is. And if you don't realize that's true, you need to get in the game of the of the investment business where we get, recurring income off of investments. And the more assets they have, the bigger that recurring income gets. And frankly, I've made more money on 20-year-old clients that I reserviced 20 years later than I ever made 20 years prior when they first started, whether it be increasing their insurance coverage. And now they're 20 years older, so everything costs more, but they have more money so they can pay it. I make more doing insurance business with them, and I definitely make more helping them with their 500,000 to 1.5 million than I did when they were starting out at $100 a month on their investments. So, there's no question that we make much more later when our clients are successful. So, Shaquille, can you see that your interests are also mine? Okay.
Yes.
Does that sound good to you?
Hmm.
Good, good. I thought you'd think so. I want to get that agreement. I want to get that agreement. Okay? Because it's going to be hard for him to say no to a meeting after that. These words are on purpose. Okay. Well, I'm going to work for you like crazy. I'm going to help you achieve your financial goals. You don't have to pay me. Don't worry. Money's company's going to take care of me. And I'm going to do even better the better you do. Is that good? That's how I feel. Use these words word for word, but that's what we're trying to get across. And you need to say it in a way that you know he's listening and he's understanding it. Don't talk too fast. Be clear. If he doesn't answer the question in a way that makes sense, re-ask the question again. Maybe he's being distracted. Maybe the kids are in the background. Maybe who knows what. Maybe he wasn't even taking the call seriously enough. You confront that. I just want to make sure you heard me on that. The way you answered, I'm not sure you really heard me right. Let me say that again. I'm never going to charge you a monetary fee, and I'm going to work for you like crazy. The better you do, the better I do. Does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Good. Excellent. I thought you'd think so. So, the only thing I ask, and this is how you get a referral vein going. This is the beginning of the vein. The only thing I ask of my clients is that they introduce me to quality people just like you. I don't say that they give me referrals because referrals is a dirty word, just like sales is a dirty word. So I don't want to say sales. I don't want to say, I'll say sales internally. I don't mind talking to you guys about sales. We need more sales, but I don't talk to clients about them being a sale. They're a client. They're getting involved. They're on a wealth accumulation plan. They're getting properly protected and so on. I'll ask that they introduce me to quality people just like you, but only once they're absolutely certain of the value I provide. Fair enough?
Yep.
Great. So now he's given me a soft commitment on giving me referrals as well as a sit. So I'm just going to go now and be very assumptive. So Shaquille, you need to sound busy, by the way. You never will say something when you're doing, so this is appointment setting fundamentals. That was the number two fundamental on our 8 great fundamentals, appointment setting. You'll never say something like, what's a good time for you this week for you and your wife, Shaquille? That means you have all your entire 168 hours of the week available. If you're that person, you are unattractive because you are not in demand at all. You don't even have a personal life, let alone a business. There's nothing attractive about that. So you've got to restrict your schedule to your prospects and you've got to give them an alternative of choice. Because if you say also, if not only are you unattractive, if you say, what's a good time this week, they'll think their brain goes, is there a good time? No, I'm busy all week. I've got lots to do. I've got must-see TV on Monday. I've got the kids' ball game on Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm going to be tired. And their answer is there isn't a good time. And so you give an alternative of choice, and their brain picks between the two. Which one's better? Most of the time, that's what's going to happen. Not all of the time, but more of the time, that's going to happen. I've got Tuesday and Thursday this week. Which would be better? Which would be a better evening for that initial visit for you and Aaron? And I'm making sure they know it's for both of them. We don't do one leg of meetings on Zoom, just like we wouldn't do them across their kitchen table. And so I book the appointment. I go over cancellations and reschedules, especially if they sound shaky. So what does shaky sound like? Shaky sounds like um, I've got Tuesday and Thursday available this week. Which would be better for you? Give me a shaky positive answer to that.
I think Thursday would be best. I'm not sure. I think it could work.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And Thursday is good for me, Shaquille, but I don't want to put it in my calendar if it's kind of shaky for you. What would you need to do to firm that up and be absolutely sure that we wouldn't have to reschedule at the last minute or even worse, no show?
Uh, Probably just check with my wife.
Well, she's with you. Oh, is she home right now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'd love to meet her real quick over the phone if you want to put it on speaker. And we could just check with her because I'd love to get you locked in on Thursday and hold that spot for you since that's your best likely time for the week. I want to hold that spot for you, but I want to make sure we're 100%. So let's check with her.
Okay, give me 1 second.
So you get the idea. I'm gonna try to overcome that weak appointment set. They sound shaky. Another way of shaky is that they're just not confident that they even want to do it. You know, and you've got to have your bullshit detector uh, working. Do not lie to yourself. Oh, well, he said yes, so I'm good. If he said, I guess so, that's not a yes. That's closer to a no than a yes. People don't like to say no. I don't know if you've learned this. People don't like to say no. It makes them feel bad. So instead of saying no, they'll say probably, or I'll
Mm.
try, or sure. They're just they just so you got to say, listen, I heard you say yes, I heard you say sure, but you seem a little shaky about that, Shaquille. And maybe I misread the situation, so correct me if I'm wrong. I always want to say that. I want to give them an out, right? Because I'm reading between the lines. I'm reading their body language. I'm reading their tonality, not just the word of what they say. So I always give them that out and say, listen, you sounded just a little bit shaky on that, but maybe I misread you. Um, are you sure Thursday's good for you? Are you sure you're really motivated to get out of debt, get debt free?
Yeah, we can do Thursday.
Okay. Listen, I promise you this. It's going to be worth your time. I promise you this. I know you're a busy man. You've got a family. I get all that. And so am I. I promise you this time is going to be well spent for you. Absolutely promise you. Will you trust me on that?
Yep.
Now that's off track. Sorry. But this is how I feel. This is how you need to feel. I need to help him. I need to make him a little bit more solid. Now, look, I can go over a cancellation script and say, listen, I can't really afford to have cancellations. So I don't like to set appointments with someone on like a tentative basis. And then we have a cancellation at the last second because I can't get that time back. And I would never do that to you. I would never, because your time is absolutely as valuable to you as mine is to me. And I would never, I'd have to be in the hospital in a bad way, personally, for me to cancel on you at the last minute. Can I trust that you won't, cancel this on the last minute? So that's going over cancellations and reschedules is important to do. Here's what I feel about that. If I was in a position where for a period of time, a month or two, with handfuls of appointments, so a large enough sample size is what I'm getting to, where I'm getting too many cancellations at the last minute. Then what I learned was I must be doing something wrong in my delivery. And I'm going to, at minimum, in addition to try to improve my delivery, I'm going to go over cancellations always. Not just if they sound shaky, I'm going to do it all the time. I'm just going to make it part of the track. And I'm just going to say, great, appreciate it. We'll go with Thursday. Hey, by the way, I just want to go over something with you real quick that's important to me. And that's about how valuable our time is, both yours and mine. I will not call you last minute and reschedule you. That would be an abuse of your time. I would greatly appreciate it, and I trust you wouldn't do that to me either. That we make this time together, we can count on each other to be there and not do a last minute cancellation unless one of us is literally in the hospital or something like that. And then laugh at a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Can I count on you for that? So it's ha ha ha, and then it's serious. Can I count on you for that? Okay.
Yep.
So if I'm getting too many cancellations, that is demoralizing. That is debilitating. And if I'm training somebody through that, it's blowing them up too. They think that's how it's supposed to be. They think that's normal, and I don't want them to think that. So I've got to adjust. There must be something I'm not doing well enough, strong enough. So I'm going to try to correct by just going over cancellations as a routine. If I'm not having that issue as a routine, then I just go over cancellations if they seem shaky. That's what that one sentence is about. Okay? All right. Building a list. I just made Shaq a client. Now I want his referrals. I've got to get them to imagine as many quality referrals as I can throughout my presentation, data collection, and enrollment in mutual funds, enrollment in insurance, enrollment in whatever we're doing. And you know how to do that, but you've got to be really on purpose about it and have a little notepad next to you. Whether you're across their kitchen table or whether you're at your Zoom desk, have a little notepad for referrals where you're starting to write down first names. So let me ask, so Shaq, we went over, I'll show you some examples of how that works. Okay. I make a lot of, one of the ways I get commitments is I make preliminary recommendations throughout my presentation. Okay. Oh, so you have an employer provided insurance. Let me talk with you a little bit about the pros and cons of employer provided insurance. And I'm not going to go through that with you now, but I go over that with them so they can see what's good, what's not good about it. And then as a preliminary recommendation, we'll look to get you solid coverage that is portable, more affordable, and better coverage for your family that you'll sleep better at night knowing you're having. And that's kind of the whole point to you for having this. For your family, it's about them not getting wiped out financially. So you'll sleep better and they're taken care of. We're going to do that. And I can start that with you when we come back, to when we reconvene maybe next week. Um, so that's a preliminary recommendation. Oh, you've got an old 401k that you never did anything with. I tell them the pitfalls of leaving an old 401k with a company and why that needs to be rolled over into your own IRA. And then the preliminary recommendation is, and we can get that started. I'm an expert with that stuff. It's super easy to do, and we'll help you to do that for all the reasons. Your money will grow better. You'll have a better handle on where it is. You don't got to worry about the ex-employer screwing up the plan somehow and you losing it. All those things we can talk about. Preliminary recommendation. That's a commitment because they say, oh, okay. So we can get that started when we come back. Oh, and on the insurance, I'll just go through a health questionnaire with you. You're in good health, aren't you, Shaquille? You look like you're really fit. You're in good health, right? Great. Stay healthy between now and when we get together next. Don't let any of that change because I want to make sure we're good to go when we come back next week. So those are all preliminary recommendations. Back to building a list. Okay. When I'm getting those preliminary recommendations, I'm going to ask them who he knows that's in the same boat. Okay. So who else, who's the top three buddies that you work with that has the exact same problem? Because they're in the same plan as you, they're going to have the same issues. Limited, we looked at your 401k. Remember, it kind of didn't have a lot of great options. So we're going to use it up to the match, but we're going to start investing money outside of that 401k beyond the match because the selection in there doesn't compete with the funds that I can offer you. Okay, so who sits next to your work? Who's in the office next to you, or the cube next to you, or who do you eat lunch with most when you're at work, or whatever it is? And you memory jog them, and you write down. Oh, Samir's his buddy at work. Oh, okay. Fam's buddy at work. Just whoever it is, and you just boom, you just start writing names down. Okay. Um, You'll develop those later. I'm not getting numbers. I'm not getting all that stuff now. I'm just making notes of these people. Okay. Use the memory jogger if you're running out of stuff to do that way. What's a memory jogger? It's a one-page sheet that lists every kind of person they might know. Church friends, neighbors, kids ball player, parents of friends of your kids, it just lists them all out. And you can just take that sheet in front of you and just start going down it. Everybody knows somebody. So if you're getting like, oh, I don't know anybody, you get out the memory jogger and you help them figure out who they know. I want to get two right away. I want to get two if I can. Before Shaq asked me this on the phone the other day, when do you get the referrals? These days, I tend to get it after I do business with them, after they're like super happy and I did everything for them. I'm no longer afraid of like I'm going to undo my sale if I ask them for referrals. I don't worry about that one little bit. Okay. Worry about that if you didn't sell them something good. Worry about that if you sold them something they didn't need and you're just trying to get the hell out of there before they figure it out. If you did right by them, if you sold them something you can stand by and you can't wait to see them 10 years from now because you know they're going to be thanking you again and again and again, then get referrals right now. Get referrals from them. Don't even worry about that. That'll never undo your sale. But get a bunch on your carry back. Fill your Primerica tank. You know what a sad thing is? A pitiful thing is? And it's an epidemic in our business and not just in Primerica, but it's definitely an epidemic in Primerica, is we have thousands and thousands of licensed, trained, capable, not flawless, but licensed, trained, capable reps that have nowhere to go. And they're sitting there not using their ability. And no one is being served in that scenario. So one thing that was shared to me by the Saffords, and it was really interesting when I got to work with the Saffords, they bought an upline code from me and offered me the opportunity to meet with them and work closely with them. And I took them up on that opportunity. And that was right the time that Shaq came into the business. I'd been working with them for less than a year. So I had been learning a lot of this stuff from them. And then that's when Shaq came in, and I was very on point with those things because I was at a point in my business where I had maxed out at about 150,000. and I wanted to do better, and I was getting frustrated. There was a time where I felt great about being at that income, and I wasn't feeling that way anymore. I was sick of being at that level, and I wanted to take my business next level. And so when Safford's offered me the opportunity to mentor with them, I was like, yeah, for sure, 100%. And it was only less than a year after I began that process that Shaq came into the business. So um, we were talking about these things about imagine, you've got like you know, what vehicle would you rather have in a race? A Ferrari or a um, I don't know, a Leaf, or a Toyota Prius. Yeah, Prius. That's what they call them, right? Is that Prius? Yeah. A Prius or a Ferrari. What would you rather have in a race? Obviously, the Ferrari, right? But here's the deal. The Ferrari takes a lot of gas, a lot of fuel. It's a V12, I mean, it's a big ass engine, this thing, it's turbocharged, it's all this stuff. The Prius, is a little tiny, little engine, with a little battery assist on it, and it's fuel efficient, but it ain't going to win no races. Okay, so if you want to go fast, so you're in this vehicle primarily, it is a great vehicle to get you to your destination of financial freedom. It is an amazing vehicle. It is a Ferrari of a vehicle, but you're sitting on the side of the road out of gas. You're not getting anywhere. So the guy in the Prius just puttered right on by you. It's like the tortoise and the hare. You're the hare, but you're out of gas. And then the tortoise is just puttering right on by you, and you're like, what the hell happened? Maybe I should go back and get a job like that tortoise has in his stupid Prius. Sorry if you've got a Prius. I want to be in a Ferrari. I want to go fast. So you've got to have fuel. You've got to be preoccupied every hour of every day. I need more gas. I need more gas. What is gas? Gas is a list of names that you can call to set appointments. That's it. How many appointments do you have this week coming up? What's your calendar look like? How many qualified KTs do you have? How many training meetings do you have with your new recruit? How many appointments for recruits? And on and on and on and on. You got to be busy. You want to look, everyone that goes RVP correctly, everyone that goes RVP and succeeds and becomes a real RVP, gets their ring, moves on from there. All of them were the busiest person that anyone knew around them. For a period of time, they were busy, 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 busy. And you can't be busy sitting at the office, fumbling through three names, trying to figure out which one you can call that won't say no, because if one says no, you're down to two. I mean, you can't be like that, but that's how thousands of us are in Primerica. You've got to make a decision. I need a tank. And so I'm sitting in front of this client that's happy. I made that happen. I don't want to go to Walmart tonight looking for somebody else. While I'm here with them, I want them to lead me to 6 or 10 other people. And I'm going to step up and I'm going to do it. And I may be a little shaky at first, but I'm going to get better. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to overcome the objections. I don't know many people, Mark. Use the memory jogger. That'll get them to know people. Don't take the objection. Okay. I'd rather call them first, Mark. Okay, Shaq, no problem. Let's call now. What do you want to say? Bah, 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 bah. He didn't know what to say. He hasn't thought about what to say. He was just hoping I'd say, okay, call him first. And guess what? He's not going to call them.
Hey,
So I'm
hey,
going to,
Mark,
yeah,
can we, because you did this with me the other day and I was
yeah,
just like, man, this is gold. Can we role play it a little bit? And I want you to give me, your game face, the tonality. I mean, everything that I've seen you do, I saw it live. So I know, but I want them to get an authentic experience because this is where we're getting hung up. I think that people, okay, no, we learned a lot, so I don't want to say that, but in the moment of battle, in that, where the client is giving them a little resistance,
yeah,
pushback,
yeah.
or a lot, and that's where we kind of just tuck tail, and, you know, all right, man,
Raise
you
your
made
hand if
this
that's true for you.
for me personally.
No, raise your hand in the room. I'm talking to
Oh,
your group. If that's true for you, that's where you get nervous. Yeah. And it's just what we get back to. Thanks for the participation. I mean, it's like, look, the client just signed up. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to create stress in the relationship. We want them to like us and feel good about us. We don't want them to charge back. That's for sure. And so all of those thoughts might be going through our head. Sure. And I'm brave enough to ask for the referral, but now they're giving me pushback. And if I start pushing back and forth, that's where I worry it's going to go derail. So you've got to look, you've got to decide you can talk to them in a way that is going to still endear them to you. Okay. It's still going to endear them to you. You're not going to blow up your relationship. They're not going to think less of you, but you are overcoming that objection. You are going to overcome that objection. You've overcome it before. It's not, it's common. Common objections. It's common. Okay. So I'm going to get to it. I might be worried it'll reflect badly on me. Always the real concern, almost never shared. They'll say I don't know anyone. They'll say I'd rather call them first. What they're really thinking is if I give Mark these three people, I wonder what they're going to think. They're worried about what other people think. Say that with me. They're worried about what other people think. Say it again. They're worried about what other people think. You got to remember that. First, you got to remember you can't be that person. If you live your life worrying, I'm not saying you don't care at all about what other people think. I want to be great so people think great about me, but I cannot be worried about what other people think. I cannot let it paralyze me. I cannot let it alter my behavior because of my concern about how they're going to think. Certainly not negatively. If anything, it better inspire me. I care enough about what they think that I'm going to go be my best and do what I need to do. Okay.
Mm.
If you can let that worry about what other people think drive you to do the right things and be brave, then great. Be concerned about what other people think. But if it causes you to shrink, you better not worry at all about what other people think. It isn't even your business what they think about you. But your client is going to be worrying, and I'm not going to do a seminar on that with them. I'm just going to get them to have confidence in me. So here's how it goes. Now, look, this is how I feel. This is a management philosophy I'm about to share with you. This is what I believe, and it's got to come through. Listen, John, when was the last time you ever saw a Primerica commercial on TV or Shaq? When was the last time?
I've never seen one.
Yeah, because they don't really do any television advertising, okay? I've built almost my entire client base on word of mouth referrals. Now, listen, if you're newer in the room and you're not comfortable with, I've built my almost, blah, blah, you say we, that's what you do. You draft off of other people, okay? We have a thriving, add this, we have a thriving office in, where are you these days? You in Herndon now? Where are you?
Tyson's. We're in
Tyson's.
Tyson.
We have a thriving practice in Tyson's Corner. And we've built almost our entire client base on word of mouth referrals. Now, look, I'm addressing this belief. You got to believe these words. So I'm giving you ways to believe it. If it's not you personally, you draft off the team. If your team, well, we don't really do that great with referrals. I don't want to say that. No, 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 no. Really? Who gets a top 20 list from their new recruits? Who's had a recruit in the last 30 days? Okay. So most of the people that come through your business are through referrals, just not maybe client referrals right now, but you're getting referrals. So own it is what I'm saying. Own it. So I've built almost my entire client base on word of mouth referrals. Because of this, I've got much more time available to my clients when they need me than others in my industry that spend most of their days looking for new clients. Now, look, that should be attractive to him. I want Shaq feeling like I'm going to be available to him. Remember in the earlier track, I said, I'll work for you forever like crazy, but never charge you a fee for my service or my time. I'll never bill you. I'll never put you on the clock and say, oh, another phone call. I'm going to have to start charging you for this. I'll never do that for you. See, that's beyond the script, but you own the script so that you can amplify that when you need to. When times get tricky and the news has got nothing but negativity and people get worried about the markets and they're not sure what they ought to do, you're going to have me to call, a voice of reason, experience, to help guide you in what you need to do so that you don't make mistakes like most people will do in those times. I'm going to be here for you. But it's almost impossible for me to have that kind of time if I've got to spend all day looking for clients. God forbid, cold calling or spending bunch all the money I have on marketing or something. I mean, this is what people in our industry do. I'm off track, but I'm telling you how I feel about the track. Okay? I want to have time for my clients. I want to have time for you, Shaquille. Now, listen, you got to trust me. I'm addressing their real concern. I'm worried it might reflect badly on me. Trust me, John. Trust me, Shaquille. When I call your friend, I'm going to treat him with nothing but care and respect, just like I've done with you in these last meetings we've had together, right?
Yeah.
Just acknowledge that I've treated him great. Why would I? And I'm going to treat his friends equally great. How can he say no now to that? Okay. And let's see, what else do I got here? Besides, I'm not just interested in these handful of folks you're going to refer today. That's assumptive. But the many more you're going to send my way over the next 20 years of our working relationship. And that's never going to happen if even one calls you back saying that they had a bad experience. Sorry, my friend, she decided she wanted to have playtime, so I needed to put her outside of the study. Um, let's see, her name's Chloe. She's a trip. And that's never going to happen if even one calls back saying that I treated them poorly. Isn't that right, Shakira?
Yeah.
So what am I telling him? I'm telling him I understand his fear. I understand his concern. I said it for him, and I'm going to champion the cause. I'm not going. I didn't treat you badly in any way. Even when I'm pressing you, overcoming this objection, I'm doing it with care, professionalism, confidence, but it doesn't change the truth. They're going to get to know me in the whole process. They've already gotten to know me. I've already told them the truth when when it's uncomfortable and inconvenient. They didn't want to get proper life insurance protection because they didn't want to spend $150 a month. They would have rather spend 50. And I had to tell them the truth. And it wasn't comfortable, but I did it with care and I did it with respect. And when you're confronted with the truth, it's obvious. And it doesn't have to be one way, my way or the highway. Like if they don't spend the 150, they're idiots and I'm out. It's not like that, but I'm telling them the truth. I'm telling them they need to put real money toward their wealth accumulation or they're not going to get wealthy. As good as these funds are, they can't fund themselves. You're going to have to get serious about your spending. You're going to have to get serious about where your money's going. Do you want to be average and ordinary? Do you want to be like most everybody else, 60 years old and don't have enough? And you got to still think about working into your 70s and beyond. That's what's going to happen. It won't be pretty. We can fix that now. There's all kinds of opportunities to talk turkey with folks. And this will just be another one of those things. I can't afford to give you all the time that I do, you and all my other clients, if I have to spend all day looking for folks. Will you help me? Will you help me so that I can help you the way that I want to? Can we help those folks? Do you want to be the only wealthy person that makes it to multi-millions by the time you get to retirement? Do you want to be the only, do you want everyone else you know to become you with their hands out? Wouldn't you want them to have their own money so they've got to come to yours? There's so many things you could say to get them over this idea of sharing what happened. Was there something more I could have done for you to make it a better experience so you'd feel even more confident sharing it with others? I know if you went to a great restaurant and the meal exceeded your expectations, you'd tell people about it. I know you would, wouldn't you, Shaquille? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you recommend a restaurant that gave you a good meal and you're a little reluctant to recommend me when I'm trying to change your life and get you wealthy and protect what matters to you most?
Mm.
Aren't these things at least as important as a restaurant or a good movie? See, this is how I feel. You stay on track. You use these words until that feeling is fully integrated with you, and these words are fully integrated with you. Then you can go off track a little bit and amplify certain areas of it because you'll be good at it. But you can always get right back to the core of the track, word for word. That's how you need to be. That's what a pro would do. That's what Shaquille did. Did that, oh, and this is beautiful. Pro tip. This is so huge. This is so huge. Get their referrals to send them a thank you. So Shaquille refers me to John, and can we admit this person? I guess. There we go.
No, no, no.
No, okay, good. I didn't. I checked it came on my screen, so I thought I had to do something with it. Right. So you refer me to Shaquille. I go see Shaquille, and I'm sorry. Shaquille refers me to Samir. I go see Samir. Now, Shaq was reluctant because he cares about his friendship with Samir so much, and he's worried about what Samir is going to think. I overcome the objection. I call up Samir. I do great on my phone call and I get the meeting with him. I do great on my meeting, and Samir is now a client. And now I'm going to get referrals from Samir as well and continue to run the referral vein. But I'm going to say to Samir, but Shaq only gave me two referrals, three referrals, because he was reluctant. And I overcame it and got a couple out of them. So now I'm going to say to Samir, I'm going to say, listen, Samir, you and Shaq are pretty good buddies, aren't you? And he's going to say, yeah, sure. I say, well, listen, I want to tell you something, between us. He really appreciated what I did for him and his wife and their family, just like I think you're appreciating it as well. And they're great clients, and I think I'm going to be working for them for the next 30 years. I'm excited about that. But they cared so much about their relationship with you. He was a little reluctant to refer you just because, he just would never want to do anything to jeopardize his relationship with you. Um, I think it would really mean a lot to him, and it'd mean a lot to me too. If you could just drop him a text message or a handwritten note, either saying that you're grateful that he referred you to me, that is, whatever is honest for you to say, that I made a difference for you guys, and you're really glad about that, and thanks for referring Mark, because I know he was just a little reluctant. He did it, but he was just a little bit reluctant. Would you do that for me? Would that be an honest thing for you to do, to convey that message to him? What do you think Samir's going to say to that?
Yeah, he'll love it.
Right. And how do you think Shaquille's going to feel when he gets that message?
He's gonna feel relieved and great.
Yeah, exactly. And how many more referrals now might I get from Shaquille? Because whenever you feel great, you want to repeat that process and feel great again. Okay. So that's a pro tip. That's going an extra mile, that extra little thing. But I look at it this way. I can take 5 more minutes with Samir to get him to drop a note back to Shaquille so that Shaq feels better about everything, and I maybe get more referrals that way. Samir gets to see how sensitive I am to somebody else, and it endears him to me even, or me to him even more. And that leads me to even more referrals from Samir. And I take an extra 5 minutes to accomplish all of that rather than 3-footing at Walmart for an hour and a half. Am I making sense?
Yep.
Nope. I'm making
Nice.
dollars. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So that's it. That's all I got for you. And if we want to do a couple of questions, we can, but I know it's been a long day for you guys. I want to applaud you. 30 guests on a Saturday in person is freaking awesome. You guys have a great team, a great office, great leadership, and you are obviously working. Everyone that stayed for this meeting after the meeting had to qualify to be in this meeting. I applaud you for succeeding in meeting that qualification, and I hope this has been worth it to you. But I can tell you, it's only if you don't practice, drill, rehearse this. If you don't make a conscious decision, not just to PDR it with your teammates, but to start being willing to be a little bit bad on your road to getting good by doing it in the field with your valued clients. If you don't do that practice in-house and in the field, this has only been entertainment. And your price of admission should be getting you something better than just some entertainment. I want you to win. I want you to succeed. I want you to have Shaq's life. The dude is worth millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. He's nearly making $1 million a year. He was the number one income earner in Virginia for the first time. I noticed that he beat me by like 4,000 in income. I'm like, oh no. See, I noticed that. I'm like, oh man. But I'm so proud of you, Shaq, man. I'm so excited for the job you're doing. And you have one of the very best businesses because of the people, because of who you are and the people you have in your squads. You have one of the very best businesses in all of Primerica. I have no doubt you'll be a Hall of Fame recipient at the next convention in 2027. I have no doubt you'll be $1 million earner. I believe you'll be an SNSD. I'm sure those are all goals for you. I haven't even asked you that specifically, but I'm sure each of those are on your radar. Not because you need the recognition, because you want your business to progress, you want your people to progress. And when they do, those accolades to you come automatically as a byproduct of your people progressing. And that's all Shaq talks about to me is how to get you all in that room to your next level. What more can he do to help you get there? That is a great leader that you have. And I don't think I have to sell you on it. I know you all know this, but stay front of mind with that. Show your gratitude and appreciation, not just with your thank yous and your words, but with your actions of taking these trainings that he provides you to heart and showing you're changing. If you don't change for all the effort that he puts in front of you to help you grow and change, but you don't change, that is the loudest message of it didn't matter, we didn't care. Because it didn't mean enough for you to actually take the action. It's hard work to change. It's so much easier just to stay the person that you are, to stay in your comfort zone and not venture out and not make the hard conversations with people. But that's no way to live your life. That's no way, it squanders the opportunity of your life and this business that you have in front of you. This business is an opportunity for all of us to grow, get better, and win and get compensated for it. And I don't know where else you're going to find that. If you don't do it here, where else are you going to do it? If you don't sell out to yourself, to your family here, where else are you going to do it? There is no replay. This is it. This is your shot. I've been around. I mean, I've been around. I've seen a lot in the 34 years I've been here. There is no other business I have any interest in. I buy businesses. I buy businesses through stock accumulation, passive ownership of businesses. I'm down with that all day long. But my active participation in business, there's nothing else I want to be actively involved in other than Primerica. I've had offers till the cows come home on that stuff because I've got money and people want your money and they want you to invest in their business. I only want passive ownership in business. My active work, my active development is Primerica. I'm telling you, after 34 years, there's nothing better. So you need to get on board with that and stay the course. And we're going to see you win big. It's going to be amazing. So that's all I got. If you had anything else you want,
Hey,
I'll tip in. I've got about another 15 minutes and I have to.
no, yeah, sorry, Mark, to interrupt you. Yeah, great. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. It was great. We recorded it. I'm going to send it out. I do want one. I have one question or one thing I want you to touch on very, very quickly, and we'll let everybody go. When they give you pushback, and you kind of recognize that dialogue where, can you go through that one more time where like I, I'm a happy client. Obviously, like you said, they're always the real concern.
But
I don't,
rarely
yeah.
said out loud. Yeah. It's
And
that objection
you
underneath.
acknowledge
Yeah.
it's getting a little, dicey is not the word, but
Yeah. So
rubber's hitting the road
here's
right
the
there.
thing. Here's the thing that I've kind of the wheelhouse I've grown into, and I've been there for a long time. I was there before I met you, Shaquille, and um, that wheelhouse is when I see it, I don't ignore it. So if they're doing what you're describing, where they're getting a little uncomfortable, they're getting a little squirrely about it, I'm going to go right to that. Okay. I'm not just going to say another thing and ignore how they're feeling. Okay. So it's going to go something like this. So, Shaq, let's slow down for a second because I can tell you're a little anxious about this. and I want you to relax. Okay. I want you to know we're friends here. You're super valuable client to me. Okay. So I just want you to relax for a minute. Okay. And I want you also to understand, because look, if you don't give me any referral, you're still my client. I'm still going to work for you. Okay. So it's not a deal breaker. I want you to understand. Okay. But I want you to also understand, and some of this I kind of mentioned, but I'm maybe restating it another way with you, is I wouldn't be asking this if it wasn't really important to me. Just as if there was something really important to you and anything I was helping you with, I would want you to ask me. I want you to make sure you make that clear. This is important. Um, I really, really, truly can't afford to spend the kind of time that I'm spending with you, not charge you a fee for service like fee-based planners do, and then have to wonder where's my next client going to come from and start cold calling or this or that or the other. It's not how I do my business. I've chosen not to because it's a futile way to conduct my business. My hope, my hope is that I've made a strong enough impression that I have enough trust from you, from how I've conducted myself and what I've done for you, that you will feel confident enough to entrust me to talk to some people you care about. I'm hoping I can get there with you. You know, isn't there just two? Forget about 6 or 10 right now. Is there two that you can trust me with to give a call to? And listen, if they're not interested, they're not interested. It's fine. All I'll do is give them my name and number. So if things change and they decide they're interested, they can always call me back when they want. But like I told you before, I would never do anything that would put any pressure on them. And if I'm putting pressure on you right now, I want to apologize for that. I'm truly not trying to. But I have to be honest with you that this is an important part of my business model. You know, this is the only way I get. I don't want to charge fee for service. You'd probably me rather not charge a fee for service, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I could have charged you $1,000 for this, and maybe that would have even kept you from doing everything that we did if I had to charge you 1,000 up front. Or you would have gone forward because the value was there, but you would have paid $1,000. Isn't it better this way?
Yeah.
Shaq, isn't it better?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
See how I'm getting some agreement? Then follow through on that and trust me with two. Let's see how it goes. I bet you they thank you when we're done, but I promise you they won't complain. Promise you. What do you say? Who do you want to help?
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned my buddy Samir. You can
Good,
call him.
good. Why do you want to help them? Now I'm digging
He's
in.
kind of in the
Now I'm
same.
digging in. Now I'm digging in. Watch this. Why do you want to help Samir?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think he's in a similar situation as me. He's working hard. He's just trying to, make sure he's on the right track.
Good, good. Do you want him to do well? Him and his family, you want him to win financially?
Yeah.
The major cause of stress on families is financial. You're well aware of that, right?
Hmm.
So you want him to have a better life. You do you really feel that way about him? I mean, I don't know how your relationship is with him, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We're really close, and yeah, I think he'd benefit from, doing the same things I'm doing.
Okay, good. Well, then he's going to be glad that you're doing this. He's going to be glad, you know. And if I needed to, I've kind of already won him over at this point, so I wouldn't go further. I'm not going to beat the horse after they've already submitted, okay? But if he hadn't yet submitted and I found myself kind of going down this road with him to close that, I'd probably say, well, let me ask you something. How do you think Samir would feel if 10 years went by? Then I met him through some other means and said, oh, yeah, I know your friend, Shaquille. I did business with him 10 years ago. He's done really, really well as a result of this. And you didn't refer him. How do you think he'd feel about that?
Yeah, he might be mad.
Might. Like, I'll say it another way. Why do you think you feel the need? How old is Samir?
He's my age, he's like 26.
26. Okay. So he's an adult in most states, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you can make a little humor without it getting off the rails, do it to lighten the mood a little bit. He's an adult in most states, right?
Yep.
Why do you feel the need to protect him from a conversation that could benefit him, that should benefit him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, protect. It's just, I don't know if, I don't just
What don't you
worry.
know? What don't you know?
Well, just, I don't, I've given referrals in the past and, you know,
Okay. Well, you've never met me in the past. You've never worked with someone like me in the past. Okay. And I'm not trying to break my own patting myself on the back, but I've been doing this for enough time to know what we've done together is somewhat unique. The time we've
yeah.
spent, the information you've got to have a licensed person, not fee-based, all the things that we talked about. That conversation isn't coming Samir's way anytime soon if I don't go have it with him. Okay. So it's important. It's a big deal. I wouldn't make an issue about it if it wasn't. But look, if you don't do it, you don't do it. We'll maybe 10 years from now, after 10 years, you'll be confident enough with me. Your money grew by hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you'll give that referral then, and you'll have to explain to him why you took 10 years to give the referral.
Hmm.
Maybe it would just be better to trust me now and give the referral now. What do you think?
Yeah, let's just do it.
I don't know look, these are some things I might say. I mean, I'm just, I, if the
And
tension
I've
is
witnessed
raising,
this.
I
I've
really,
witnessed it. I mean, it didn't get that. But you're what you're saying is what you how you trained me, and it was a belief, like you said. It was just intertwined. It was from the phone call. And I told these guys many times, like, look, this is the best. I cannot put someone better in front of you. And also, I know because I saw. Clients, this isn't stage talk. This is how my field training was. We got clients from young families who are always apprehensive because they just didn't want to refer somebody and have it reflect poorly on them. And there was always an objection that you had to overcome. Um, not, you could, like you said, you could do it a little bit better on the front end, but usually you got to work for the referrals, man, and that's what you taught us. And this is it's just a difference maker. So I really
well,
appreciate it.
you're welcome. And just, committing to this, okay, and working the process so that you get better and you get more effective. This is going to make you better in every area of your business. I mean, this is going to make you better doing a fast start with a new recruit and going through their objections about talking to people they know to look at the business opportunity. Because it's the same thing, just a different aspect of the business is all. But how's that different than, oh, one referral wanted to talk about debt, another one wanted to talk about investments, another one wanted to talk about insurance? Those are just different aspects of the business. But the process of getting them to trust you, to talk with people they know that they worry about how they're going to be perceived. That's all the same thing. So if you sell out in one area to do that, then transfer it to another area and you get better and better and better. If you have more places to go and more good clients to conduct business and more cash flow and income, isn't that going to make you better in other areas of the business? Isn't that going to make you more selective about the meetings you take? If you had 300 referrals, a bank of 300 referrals ready to go, a full tank. Wouldn't that make you better on the phone, less needy on the phone? If you had those kinds of numbers instead of three that you're juggling, hoping one doesn't say no and you're down to two. So all of this is really useful to you progressing in the business. It's not that your whole business is going to be all about referrals, even though that's kind of in the track and kind of how I'm expressing it. It ignores the fact that referrals is everything that we're doing in all of our recruiting efforts and everything else too. And by the way, your clients can refer you to recruit candidates as well as client candidates. This script didn't allow for that. It didn't mention it, but you can, once you have this script down, you can weave that in. By the way, we're also expanding. Now that I've gotten 6 referrals on client potential, I can weave in there, by the way, and I really appreciate these 6 folks. I'm going to treat them like gold. I promise you, I'm going to take such good care of them. I bet you they're going to be calling you, thanking you. I want him to feel so good about those 6 that he just gave me. Okay. But let me ask you one other. We're expanding like crazy. Obviously, helping people become debt free and financially independent is big business. You can imagine, right? So, we're exploding. Our office is exploding, and we just don't have enough people right now. And it's probably true of elements in business. One of the hardest things in business is finding good people, good quality people. Ours is no different. We're the best in the business. I mean, we've got massive amounts of great people, but we need more. So let me ask you, who's the first person that comes to mind when you think that person might be open for a career change for the right money and opportunity? Who's the first person that you think of that feels like they're worth 6 figures despite the fact of their current paycheck? But believes they're worth 6 figures. Who's the first person that is a self-starter that probably doesn't need a boss, but would love a mentor? Who's the first? And you think of these kinds of questions to memory jog people in that area. And then you spring it on them and you see you can get. If you just say, who do you know that would consider career change? They might say, I don't know. When you memory jog and you're more specific, who do you know that owns a red car? If they know anyone that has a red car, they'll think of it. If you say, who
Mhm.
do you know that's 6 feet tall? They'll think of someone 6 feet tall. If you say, who's interested? They say, I don't know. Because how would they know if they're interested? They have no way to know if they're interested. I don't even care if they think they're interested. It doesn't matter if they think they're interested. It matters if the person I call might be interested, not if Shaq knows that Samir is interested. That's irrelevant. Okay.
Mhm.
Anyway, hope that wraps a bow on
Cool.
that.
Thanks, Mark. I'll let you go. Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
My pleasure. We'll do it again
Yeah,
sometime. We'll do it again sometime. In the
yeah,
meantime, just work it like you do. And I'm jealous of your team right now, I have to say. You've got a great base shop, and I want you to be a national hit. I know you're on your way. I know it's in your heart. So it's been my pleasure, guys. Thank you.
awesome. Thanks, Mark. Bye.